Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Coronavirus, a Global Pandemic. We've had today with us our brother Tahir, who is a chartered accountant, who's been answering a number of questions of a lot of our callers here. And I think we'll go straight into it. I believe we have a caller waiting on the line. Assalamu alaikum. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Latif Hussain, calling from Aylesbury.
From Aylesbury?
Yeah.
MashaAllah. And what's your question, brother?
My question is, I've got two jobs here. One is taxi and one is 0-hour contract. Both is part-time jobs. But my first question is, I should get 80% from both jobs, or I'm going to get only from one job? The second question is, my second job, which is 0-hour contract, I start only about a few months ago, 2 months ago. So does that mean I still get it, something, or not? And my another question, if you don't mind, some people are going on universal credit, and I was on working tax credit. So it's better to stay as a working tax creditor, or shall I go on universal credit?
Brother Latif, just regarding your first question, your first question, you said you work as a taxi driver, yes?
Yeah.
How long has this been going on for?
Quite a few years, about
Quite a few years,
10 years.
8 to 10 years, okay. Okay, stay on the line, Brother Latif, and inshallah, Brother Tahir, if he needs some clarification, he may ask you some questions. So, Brother Tahir, shall we take the first question from the previous caller?
Yes, that's right. Because the previous caller, just before we went for the break, there was a lady, she had been self-employed for some time, since about 2014. And her question was, well, am I qualified to receive this grant for the self-employed from HMRC? And really the answer is yes. Depends what profits she's been making over the last 3 years. And based on that, it will be averaged for the 3 years, and the revenue will pay you that grant. If I can ask the producer to put the slide on, it's slide number 2, who can claim, that will answer a lot of the question. So it is the one after that, and to answer Brother Latif's, who can claim, it's his businesses. Brother Latif is running a business. He's been a minicab driver. So the answer, for the last 9 or 10 years, he's registered obviously with HMRC. So Brother Latif, you are saying that you've got 2 jobs. There's no restrictions on that. So where you are self-employed, yes, depending on what profits you have shown in your tax returns for the last 3 years, which is 2016-17, 2017-18, 2018-19, which you have filed with HMRC. HMRC will work out average profits for those 3 years, and they will give you the funds based on that. The maximum profits which they are allowed are 50,000. So that answers your first question, I hope, as far as the minicabbing is concerned. The other one is the concern was that he also does, he's also employed on a 0-hour contract, which he started about 2 months ago. And the question he had was, will I be entitled for any compensation from that? The answer is, again, yes, depending on what you earned in those 2 months. So it will be a proportion. As long as you were on the PAYE before the 28th of February 2020, you would be entitled to it, depending on what you have earned. So I hope that answers your question. Again, there is a maximum. The maximum is £2,500. It's not going to exceed that, whether as a self-employed person or even as an employee. So if I go through this slide over with you, these are businesses. Business could be sole trader. So you could be running a small cafe, a small shop, minicab, driver, or you could be in partnership, running a restaurant, or you got a clothes shop. All of these, and limited companies as well, all of these are going to benefit from this government scheme. As I said, the idea of the government is people are furlonged. That means They were your employees, so they have been asked to stay at home, not come out to work. They're not doing any work for you whatsoever. These are some of the conditions which are attached to it. So as long as they are furlonged workers, the employer can claim for reimbursement. And as far as self-employed people are concerned, the same rule applies to them, that the revenue will work out their profits for the last 3 years and actually give them, reimburse them for those loss. Because, for example, look at barber's shop. Now, there's a rule, we have to be 2 meters away, like what we are sitting. Well, a barber is going to cut your hair. I don't think so he's going to be able to do it from 2 meters
I've
away.
seen some pictures where they're using like extended sticks and scissors.
Yeah,
Cutting
that
people.
must be quite a haircut, isn't it? Yeah. So you have to be careful, you have to be sensible. And let me tell you the other thing.
I was only joking about that. I think somebody just made that up
I know.
in countries.
Yeah. But the other thing is people don't realize, even charities are suffering a lot in this period. And for example, I know that certain events have been cancelled where some people's job description is event managers. They actually organize, run the event. If there's going to be no event, they're not going to be doing anything. They're sitting at home. Even the charities can be reimbursed for those furlonged employees. So in many ways, the package is, I think, reasonably generous. All I would say is, people think that this 2,500, if they're going to, this is theirs. Don't forget, there will be tax on that. PAYE tax will be deducted as if you're getting payroll. If you're self-employed, this will be treated as other income, and you'll end up paying taxes on that. So don't forget that. Yeah.
Okay. So, Brother Latif, I hope that answered your question.
It does, but could you also, some people, they're trying to go on universal credit.
Yes.
What is your advice? Should we...
Sir, I can't really advise you on that. You need to look at each specific case particularly. But if you are self-employed, the revenue is saying, yes, you can claim universal credit. And, sometimes it's advisable because, as I said earlier, by the time you get money from the revenue, it will be June. So you might need to go into a universal credit initially in order to have something coming in. Okay? Okay, Brother Latif.
Jazakallah khair for your phone call, Brother Latif.
Okay.
To the viewers at home, I would like to remind you that you can call in at any time to join in with the discussion or ask your questions. Right here throughout the entire show, we have our tax specialist and a specialist in small businesses. So feel free to call the number on the bottom of the screen. We have a landline and a WhatsApp number. Ideally, it's people from the UK. You can ask all your questions regarding to self-employment, or if you have running a small business, or if you have any general tax queries, or even if you are an employee on the books. I believe we have another caller. We'll take the call, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Wa alaikum salam. My name is Zahid. I'm calling from High Wycombe.
MashaAllah, brother Zahid. How are you today?
Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm great. Jazakallah khair.
My question regarding about the same grant from the government. My question is a bit complicated. I'm working at the moment, and my wife, I got 2 children, 2-year and 3-year-old. And my wife, she's getting universal credit since nearly 3, 4, 5 years. And I used to work for courier company. Then I left the courier company. Then I worked for as a delivery driver. But unfortunately, I left the delivery driver job as well. After that, I just came back in the same courier company again. But they just gave me for 4-week contract. Like 4 weeks. If you work 4 weeks, if you like you, then we can keep you. Otherwise, we can just tell you can go, you can leave. But what happened? This Corona happened. So because my boss was a very small company, 3 drivers. So his business will go down as well because he's just working for me. Yeah, that's it. So he says, we can't keep you anymore. So I'm jobless at the moment. I'm not doing anything. So I'm entitled to anything or not really?
Okay, Jazakallah khair for your call.
Yes. Brother, I really didn't get the gist of his question. I think he's been having jobs and leaving jobs. The last job, he said, it's were you employed by that person or were you self-employed? If you were
No,
self-employed,
employed. I
yeah,
still
employed
self-employed.
on PAYE,
Yes.
on PA, and were you on their payroll as at February 20? Were you on
No,
the payroll?
I started 17th of February and just finished 17th of March.
Okay, okay. Yes. So you started on the 17th of February. So on that category you qualify, and subsequently you have been made redundant
Yes.
because of Corona.
Yes.
Yes, the company can actually reinstate you. The rule is there. There's not much you're going to get because you were on the payroll only for a short time, but the revenue can look back at your PAY record for the previous jobs as well, and you'd be entitled to your, the package accordingly. But on the other hand, if you are entitled to claim universal credit as well, if you can do that.
Jazakallah khair.
Okay.
I believe we have our next guest with us. Our next guest is Imam Qasim, who is the founder and chairman of Al Khair Foundation, along with being the CEO of Iqra TV. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Imam Qasim.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, fine, not bad, can't be worse.
Alhamdulillah. Are you in the UK or are you abroad at this moment?
No, in the UK, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So, Imam Qasim, tell us how the current pandemic has affected the charity sector.
Yes, it has affected quite many charities indeed, and it will affect eventually possibly every single charity, because it's just a matter of time that the donors themselves will become amongst the needy people, and they would require assistance and support and so on. So the tables will turn around like that. But so far, we're managing. Obviously, with the isolation situation amongst the staff members and team members, it is challenging to keep up the work and so on. But alhamdulillah, I mean, our branches in UK, our country offices around the world, subhanallah, I mean, I really admire them. Big thank you to them. They're really going out every single day and trying to assist those people who are in forced isolation or in quarantine, and also assisting basically governments and officials, airports, hospitals, and so on, mashallah.
Bangladesh, and so forth. What's the situation there?
I mean, the situation in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh is at early stage at the moment. I'm not sure if anyone have presented the analyze in this manner. The way I look at it, this pandemic or this virus, basically, when it reach any country, it would take about 3 to 4 weeks, around a month, for the first initial casualties, initial deaths to occur. So many countries which have seen just fewer number of cases right now, especially like African countries and so on, they would be thinking, yes, they are safe and so on, and they have very few cases. But after about a month, they will see number of deaths will start to emerge. And then from the first death, it takes another month or maybe 6 weeks for it to become a really nightmare type of situation, similar to Italy, Spain, and what Britain, UK is going through right now. In UK, first death was on 5th of March. And by 5th of April, through same calculation, you will see that the death toll will go in similar number as Spain and Italy, basically about 700-800 a day. and that is the worst part of it. That is not the peak of it. That is the beginning of the peak. So it's going to take maybe another 2 to 3 weeks like that, and after that it will start to come down. So similarly, for India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, while we see much fewer cases right now, I can only imagine what will happen over there after a month or so. I've been working with officials very closely, with senior government members, and today they have asked me to record a video message for these scholars and ulama of Pakistan and Bangladesh, to basically educate them about importance of the role of masajids and madaris and so on, inshallah. So situation going to be quite tough in coming days. I hope and pray that I'm wrong and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removes this difficulty and calamity right now. Around the world, alhamdulillah.
Okay,
And,
Dr. And
yeah.
Imam Qasim, I would like
Yes.
to ask you, with Ramadan just around the corner, what are you expecting from this? Because depending on what countries, some countries it's not at its peak at this stage. So I believe the number of infections in Pakistan at the moment is quite low compared to the rest of the world. However, it is likely to increase, and obviously we ask Allah to protect everyone all around the world from this virus. But with Ramadan coming around the corner, how will it affect the charity work?
It is going to affect charities quite a bit. As I said, that for many of the businesses, the government grant is there for individuals, for self-employed, and so on, this and that, but not, for example, a shop owner used to earn, let's say, £10,000 a month profit and so on, and from that 10,000 they used to give 1,000 or 2,000 to charities. That will affect quite a lot. Every organization have huge number of individual donors, but quite reasonable number of business and commercial donors also. So that will have a bit of impact. But in reality, we have to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that whatever comes, it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Charities are not run as a business model. Charities run on humanitarian model. And one part of Islamic humanitarian aspect is that we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are not running the organization ourselves. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala running it. And as far as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to progress, we'll progress, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair for your time, Imam Qasim. And if somebody wants to donate to Al Khair Foundation, the website is alkhair.org. So inshallah, Jazakallah khair for your time.
Can I have a word with Qasim Bhai? Qasim Bhai, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. जी ताहिर भाई,
क्या हाल चाल है आपका?
हाँ, ये बातें पर्सनल फोन पे भी हो सकती हैं.
I know, but I've been listening to you. I mean, as far as the charities are concerned, there is a bit of concession from the government. Malake, you are able to furlough your workers, and the government can give you compensation just like any other business. So the charities are included within that sector.
No, I know, Tahir bhai, but in reality, I mean, for example, in case of Al Khair, out of 100 people we employ in UK, there is not even 10 that falls within that category, because all of them are functioning and working from home. Furlough them, then that means that we cannot get them to do even 1 day's work in a month. And how do we select the staff members that cannot function anymore? In Al Khair, you know the environment in Al Khair, that everybody does a bit of everything. Yes. So I was listening when I tuned in just now that you were talking about events management, for example. So there is no events management department in Al Khair. There is no, many of the departments doesn't exist in Al Khair, but when events comes, then everybody join in and they do a bit of everything. So for organizations like Al Khair, and many, I would say majority of the organizations, they would struggle to decide which staff they can put in that list. So I would say maybe at most, maybe 10%, or some of the organizations, maximum 20% of their staff could fall within that category. Another aspect we have of that is primary and secondary schools. How do we furlough those teachers because they are teaching from home? They're still continuing with their class activities and so on. Certain staff like cleaners and security and this and that and maintenance, that can be furloughed. Again, it falls within that bracket of 10 to 15% staff overall. So government scheme is there and it's great help, alhamdulillah. But in reality, it's not. It will not pay 80% of the total running cost of the organization the way public thinks about it.
Jazakallah khair. I think we have a few callers. Jazakallah khair, Imam Qasim. Inshallah, we'll speak to you soon, inshallah. Jazakallah khair for your time.
Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum.
I believe we have a caller on the line. We'll take the next caller, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Bolton. My
Okay,
name is
brother.
Sadiq.
Okay, and what's your question?
Is my question, can you speak to Urdu? Is okay?
Sorry?
Can you speak to Urdu?
Yeah. Okay, if you speak Urdu, and then inshallah we'll just translate it for the viewers, inshallah.
Okay, no problem, yeah. मेरा सवाल ये है कि I'm working in the market. मैं market में काम करता हूँ 3 days.
जी.
And मेरी शॉप भी है. In the one it is small shop. छोटी शॉप है. तो कुछ मिल सकता है benefit. और
तो आप
दूसरा ये है कि मुझे बेनिफिट लेना हो तो कौन सी वेबसाइट पे जाना है और कहाँ रिंग करनी है, आप बता सकते हैं प्लीज?
तो आपका सवाल है कि आप मार्केट में काम करते हैं और आपकी साथ में शॉप भी है?
Yes, yes.
Okay, for the viewers, the question is from the brother. He works in the market for a couple of days a week, and alongside he also has a shop, and he's just wondering if he's eligible for any additional support from the government.
Yes, brother Sadiq, मैं आपसे ये सवाल पूछ सकता हूँ? I need to ask him in Urdu because he seemed to be fluent in Urdu. Brother Sadiq, मैं आपसे ये सवाल पूछूं, जो 3 दिन आप मार्केट में काम करते हैं, ये कहीं मुलाजमत करते हैं? Are you an employee कि ये आपका self employed है मार्केट का?
No, मेरा खुद का है ये.
आप self employed है, ठीक है? So you qualify on that. अच्छा, दूसरी बात ये है, जो छोटी सी शॉप है, ये शॉप आप कितने दिन रन करते हैं? 7 days है, चलता है?
Yes, 7 days.
Okay, लेकिन technically you are self employed. तो अगर आपकी जो आमदनी है, if your income has gone down, तो आप इस पे जाहिर है क्वालिफाई करते हैं. ये कितने अरसे से चला रहे हैं ये कारोबार?
ये मैं मार्केट में I think nearly 2-3 years से करता हूँ, 2-3 साल से. और जो शॉप है वो मेरी वाइफ रन करती है.
ठीक है. To answer your question, I'll speak in English as well. कि भाई the brother has been doing the market, ठीक है? You market आप कुछ सालों से चला रहे हैं, so you qualify on that. अच्छा, दूसरी बात ये है, the shop, अगर फर्ज करो your wife is running the shop or you are a partner in the shop, you will qualify for that as well. So the answer to you is yes, your wife can qualify and you can qualify.
ओह माशाल्लाह. तो कभी ये कौन सी वेबसाइट के ऊपर जाना पड़ेगा अगर मुझे?
ये आपको रेवेन्यू की वेबसाइट पे जाना पड़ेगा. आप जाएं, ये जो ज्यादा मालूमात के लिए ये गवर्नमेंट की वेबसाइट है businesssupport.gov.uk.
ऑलराइट, ओके. जज़ाकल्लाह.
आपको वहां से रेवेन्यू की वेबसाइट भी मिल जाएगी और उनका टेलीफोन का नंबर जो है वो भी मिल जाएगा.
ओके, जज़ाकल्लाह. और अगर अभी जो मैं टैक्स क्रेडिट भी मुझे मिल सकती है क्योंकि अभी मैं घर पे बैठा हूँ ना, तो
अभी क्या? सॉरी, पार्डन?
He's at home at the
कुछ
moment.
काम नहीं चलता है ना, तो अभी मैं घर पे हूँ, तो मुझे कोई और बेनिफिट मिल सकती है?
आप यूनिवर्सल क्रेडिट जो है उसके लिए अप्लाई कर सकते हैं.
ओके, ओके, ओके. जज़ाकल्लाह.
You are welcome,
Jazakallah.
brother. So, Umar, brother, these are the sort of questions which, as I said, a lot of small people, small businesses, people who are self-employed, market stall, running a hairdresser, small shop, all of these benefits from the government are really targeted towards these people. Because as I said, it's £2,500 a month. or the other one is if your profits are under £50,000. So this is really for small people. And a lot of our people are in this sort of business. They've come recently, started some sort of a cafe or running a business or a restaurant business. This is applicable to them, and they should make this application. The only thing is, before they get too excited, you know, the website is not up and running. The HMRC is still compiling. They said, I think they've got a 20th of April deadline. They'll hopefully have it up and running. So you'll have to wait for some time. It's not going to happen immediately.
And earlier on, you mentioned, just for the viewers again, you mentioned a website, business support.
Yes, this is the government website. It is businesssupport.gov.uk, and that will have a lot more details there. What we are doing here is really summarizing some of the things, but if you want to go into more details, that should be available on that site.
I would just like to remind the viewers at home, please feel free to call in and ask questions to our brother Tahir, inshallah. We still have two more people after the break, inshallah. We have Sheikh Ul-Raz from the blessed city of Makkah, and we have brother Salim from Green Lane Masjid. So feel free to call in, and the callers who are on hold at the moment, inshallah, we'll take your calls after the break. Inshallah, we'll see you after the break. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Ramadan, Ramadan, month of blessed rhapsody.
We are the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ has rights upon us. We need to follow the way of the Prophet ﷺ. And there's nothing better than to look into the Quran and to see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about the Prophet ﷺ.
فاعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله واستغفر لذنبك وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات.
How the Prophet ﷺ lived the Quran. How was the manners of the Prophet ﷺ was the Quran. We need to learn this from the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran.
بل متعت هؤلاء وآباءهم حتى جاءهم الحق ورسول مبين.
We would look into the verses that mentions the Prophet ﷺ directly or indirectly, or even referring to the Prophet ﷺ, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comforted the Prophet ﷺ, honored the Prophet ﷺ, ordered the Prophet ﷺ, mentioning the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon the Prophet ﷺ.
والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وآمنوا بما نزل على محمد وهو الحق من ربهم.
Join us soon in this coming Ramadan, insha'Allah ta'ala, in Quran Circle 6. We will listen to the Quran and reflect upon the subject of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the Quran.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Coronavirus, a Global Pandemic. Today, so far, we've had our tax specialist, Brother Tahir, who's also a chartered accountant. We've had Imam Qasim, who is the CEO of Al Khair Foundation and Iqra TV. We've had a number of callers who have been asking numerous questions to Brother Tahir, and he's been challenging them, and we still got a few callers on the line. However, before we take the calls, we have our correspondent from the blessed city of Makkah, our Sheikh Ul-Raz. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu
Hi, Brother
alaikum.
Umar.
Alhamdulillah, how are you, Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah, all good.
I've just heard a couple of hours ago that in the cities of Makkah and Medina, they've put down a 24-hour lockdown or 24-hour curfew now.
Yeah, that's true. Starting as of tomorrow, inshallah.
So how does this work? Does this mean you cannot go out at all?
Not quite. It's a 24-hour curfew, but there are certain exceptions. So if a person needs to get essential things, such as groceries, medicines, then they're allowed to go out between 6 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon.
What about going to the Masjid al-Haram for prayers? Are you allowed to go there?
No.
So is the masjid closed completely?
It was open to a limited amount of people, but now with this particular curfew, you're only allowed within your particular district. So your borough or your local town, you're only allowed within there to get essential items.
So if I can get this clear, so if you are living very near to the Haram, presumably you are local, you are allowed to go there.
It's from the rules that they've set out. It would appear that wouldn't be part of one of the exceptions to the rule, because the exceptions are for things which are like necessities, so medicines, groceries or things like that. So as for those who are local to the Haram itself, Allah, I've not heard of the latest regarding the Haram, but I would assume that would not be as part of the exceptions. Allah.
Brother, so that I can get it around my head. My head has begun to spin right now as I speak to you. Does it mean that there is going to be no tawaf as we speak?
To be honest, the tawaf was there wasn't tawaf for a while, and then just yesterday or the day before they opened it up to around 50 people at a time.
Yes.
So just after that, now we've got this news of the curfew. So it's all in the air a bit, to be honest. There may be certain people who are allowed.
Yeah.
I know the salahs were still continuing in the Haram. They were continuing in the Haram. So it would just be the Imam and a few of the police, etc. So maybe that will continue, and maybe from amongst them there'll be certain people given that privilege. But generally, that's the curfew generally in Makkah and Medina.
Yeah.
You're restricted to your particular district, and you're only allowed to go out in the morning, from 6 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon for any essential, for any necessities only.
Okay, Sheikh Ul-Raz, I believe we have a caller. He may have some questions for you. Assalamu alaikum, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Abdul from London.
Yep. And what's your name, brother?
Yeah, Abdul.
Abdul. Okay. And what's your question?
First of all, Jazakallah khairan for covering this important topic on the live store. Personally, I've joined on 25 years ago, I think, when the slide was going on explaining about that.
Brother, can I stop you? This sector is not to answer the question. We've got the Sheikh from Mecca. If you have got a question you want to ask him, I think this is an opportunity which you utilize to ask him the questions. If you got a question for me, I will answer that afterwards. I'm here later on.
All right, okay. No, this is regarding that employment.
Yeah, you can ring afterwards. Let's ask the question to the Sheikh. What question?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my head is still in the spin, I just can't accept it. I mean, it's very difficult. How is the local population? Are they fully cooperating with the government to making sure that this virus is not spreading, and they are cooperating in the manner that they should?
Yeah, generally it's been, to be honest, people have praised the response of the government. I mean, they've not always been, their response has not always being accepted by many people. But with regards to the coronavirus, to be honest, the response has been quite efficient. This wasn't done suddenly. There was stages to the curfew. Originally, when it first started off, the schools had closed down, the tahbib, the shopping malls, and then slowly even the salah in the masjid. Before it was closed, before that, they had the time between the adhan and iqamah was restricted to 10 minutes so that many people don't gather together. Then they had a rule whereby you have to have a row gap between it after every 2 rows. Then they opened up the masjids for Jummah for a lot more masjids so that there'll be less crowding in the masjids. And then eventually the masjid will close. As for the curfew was originally from 7 in the evening until 6 in the morning. That was then increased to from 3 in the afternoon until 6 in the morning, but that was only for three main cities, Medina, Makkah, and Riyadh. And now that's been the 24-hour curfew has now been applied to Makkah and Medina.
Okay,
so it's been gradual, and it's been, I said, they've taken steps quite quickly and in stages, and people generally have been, cooperative with that. Even the shopping centres, in the shops, supermarkets, you haven't seen the kind of panic buying and that kind of behaviour. It's been quite reasonable, quite calm. It's not been so much panic. When they brought in certain curfews, obviously, because the hours of shopping were restricted, so you had a bit more. The shops were a little more busier, but even still, alhamdulillah, it's been fairly calm, and people have been generally.
Can I ask?
And there's also been communication from the government has been quite good as well. You're getting text messages for people to stay at home and cooperate and that kind of thing. So it's been quite a good.
Jazakallah khair for your time. Inshallah, we'll catch up with you soon.
Okay, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum
Assalamu alaikum, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from? Assalamu alaikum, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yeah. Abdul calling from London.
Yes, brother. And do you have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. Yeah, this is regarding that self-employment grant.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I joined 25 minutes ago. I think when the slide was explaining regarding the company self-employed and travel agents category. I don't know whether the account was covered this topic. Just quickly, I've seen the website that you mentioned, and they are saying that for the self-employed individual it's totally different. The person who running a company, incorporated company, and being a director, is he eligible to get that grant?
Yeah, I can pick it up. Okay, well, let's put something on the screen. If I could ask the producer to put one of the slides on there, I think we'll be able to answer this better. Could I ask to the producer to put slide number 3, please, on the screen? And to answer your question, what you are saying, from what I could understand, because really, Umar, the line wasn't that clear, but from what I understand, I think he was saying he is in the travel business, he's probably a travel agent, he's running a limited company, he's a director of that limited company, and the question he had was, could I claim this prolonged employee status? And the answer to that is simply yes. If you're not running the travel agent, if you're having to sit at home, you're not able to do the work, you're not able to sell the ticket, but you are a director of that company, you were paid a salary by that company, the answer is yes. If you are a prolonged worker, you can claim for that. The maximum you will be able to claim would be 80% of the salary which you were getting. So if you were getting a salary of £1,000, you'll be able to claim 800 from the revenue. So you cannot claim £2,500 if your salary was only £1,000. Yeah, I think we should make that clear, because some people might get excited, all of a sudden there's a pay rise, corona bonus coming up. Well, that's not the case. You're going to have to satisfy. And the revenue, as I said earlier in my earlier segment, every time you do your payroll, the revenue is formed automatically. We call it real-time information, RTI. So the revenue have that information. Based on that information, yes, if you were getting a salary of £1,000 a month, you can claim, the company can claim 80% of that from HMRC. So you'll be getting a salary of £800, and that £800, by the way, will be taxed, and national insurance will be deducted from that, and whatever is net, you'll be able to get that. I hope that answers the brother's question, because the line really wasn't that clear. Yeah.
Okay. I believe we have another call on the line. Assalamu alaikum, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Walaikum salam. My name is Aleem. I'm calling from West Yorkshire.
Yes, Aleem. How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very good. Thank you for asking. My question is what it is. I'm a shopkeeper. I own a convenience store, and I've had it since 2018 November. I've been running it for about a year and a half now, and I have a few questions. My first one is, if I put a claim in for, for some support from the government, but first of all, how can I make more than one claim, and are there multiple claims that I am able to make as a business owner?
Can I ask you, when you say multiple claims, what does it mean? Can you explain in plain English?
Like, how many claims are there available that the government are offering? Like, is it possible to do universal credit as well as the 80% employer claim as well?
Okay, I think I can answer that question. I think, Umar, I got the gist of the question from the brother from West Yorkshire.
Shall we just take one more question, inshallah? We've got another
as long as I don't forget his first question.
Okay, I think we've got our next caller, inshallah. Shall we take our next caller, please? Assalamu alaikum, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Azhar Sayyid calling from Manchester.
Assalamu alaikum. This is actually my uncle.
Yes, my question to Sheikh is, Sheikh, can you give us some understanding of the present corona situation which has impacted all over the world? For Islamic point of view, how do you see the situation? Is it creating more fear of death, or is it giving an impact upon the loss of our worldly enjoyment? Where should Muslims look into some kind of guidance in this situation?
Okay.
Brother Umar, can I answer your uncle? I'm only able to give him guidance on business taxation and business affairs. I think he's looking for a spiritual sheikh, which I am definitely not. So I think he will have to ask somebody else. But if I come back to the question which was here, that in November this chap started his own convenience store, and now I need to ask him, if he is set it up as a limited company, then the answer is yes, he would be, if he's getting a salary, whether he's a director or he's a shareholder director, if he's getting a salary, he'd be entitled to what we call the furlonged thing, as long as he's not running the store anymore and it's been closed, because that's very important. If he's carrying on in business, then there is nothing for him to claim. This is for people who are not able to work on that, if he is an employee. On the other hand, if he's running this as a self-employed person, so he set up the store, he's running it whether by himself or with his partner, then he would be entitled to claim for that self-employment, because he has started before the 6th of April 2019. He started his business in November 2018, so he would qualify for that relief available for people who are self-employed running their own businesses. Okay.
Jazakallah khair. I hope that answered your question. We have our next guest with us. It is Brother Salim Ahmed from Green Lane Masjid, who's been on the ground helping the local community during this pandemic. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Salim.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, good. So tell us about the work that you've been doing.
So Green Lane Masjid is one of the leading masjids in the UK, and it was very important early on for us to to get the right information from the authorities, from the experts, so that we could share it with our communities. A lot of people were panicking, seeing the news in Italy and in other countries. So the first thing that we had to do, we had to calm our community down. We had to deliver the expert advice so that people would understand the severity of the situation. And we also had to make shura. We had to make shura with our imams, with other masjids, to ensure that we were giving the correct response. And ultimately, we had to lead by example. So on the back of that, we've tried to roll out our new services that can support the community, and continue with services that we were already running.
So how have the masjid responded during this outbreak?
So as I mentioned, the masjid very early on had to seek expert advice, and alhamdulillah, through our connections with the local health authorities, we were able to speak to the Director of Public Health, Dr. Justin Varney, and we had meetings with him and with other leaders in the community and from different masjids. And very early on, we gave the advice to people to stop coming to the masjid. We closed the masjid down. We stopped any prayers here, and also the Jummah prayer. And that was at a time where people were still, torn as to whether they should go ahead and do that or not. So it was really, we had to take that leadership position. And ultimately, we had to follow the sunnah, in every situation, especially in calamities like this. It's nothing new. We've been through calamities as a ummah many times in the past. And the key thing is to do what is pleasing to Allah. So that is what we had to do. That was the way we responded, is to seek advice, to talk with other masjids, so that we had a unified decision. So it wasn't a case of us making a decision by ourselves, but communicating with others and really trying to unite the Muslims together so that we could have a definite response.
Brother Umar, if I could ask Brother Salim, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Salim, is Tahir Beg here. Brother Salim, how has the community reacted to it? Have they cooperated with you, or have you got resistance from them?
So alhamdulillah, the community, in terms of the congregation of the masjid, everybody was very supportive, through our social media channels, through people who communicate with us. We were told we were doing the right thing. We were told it was refreshing to see this type of leadership when many other masjids weren't doing that.
Okay. Can I say, I was listening to the radio news. There seemed to be a sort of a higher number, in places like London, where there's a lot of immigrant community, in Birmingham and that sort of thing. Do you find that is the case even where you are?
Yeah, and that was one of the bits of advice that Dr. Justin Varney, the Director of Health, gave to us, is that the Muslim communities are at higher risk because, we have a large population of elderly people. Our families live together in houses together. So it's a case of, yes, it was definitely a risk. And now we're hearing many elders are passing away. I was just speaking to some friends earlier over a Skype call, and the same thing was being said, that this elder has passed away, and somebody else's brother was sick. So we make dua for all of the people, because it is a very, very frightening time, but at the same time we have to have tawakkul in Allah.
Yes. Omar, am I allowed to ask another question?
Yes, inshallah.
Brother Salim, what other services, add-on services, have you started providing because of this coronavirus to the communities there?
Well, alhamdulillah, again, we've tried to take the lead here, and, we already run a food bank at Green Lane Masjid, which is part of our welfare services, and we've extended that so that it's now an emergency delivery service as well. So for people who are self-isolating, elderly, and even for NHS workers who can't get access, especially in the early days when shops were being inundated with customers and there was big crowds and panic buying, we launched a service so that these people wouldn't put themselves at risk, first of all, and also so that they wouldn't go hungry. And we've had many examples of families, individuals who have contacted us and said they're in a desperate situation and they need help. Aside from that, we've also launched an emergency COVID funeral service. We partnered up with Central Funeral Services and Central Mosque in Birmingham, and we're doing combined work together where we're providing that service so that families of the deceased, have that service available to them. In addition to that, we've also continued with our education and our dawah. So everything that we used to have, like the madrasas in the masjid and the education classes, we've moved it all online, so that the Muslim community can have some sense of normality and can continue with life as normal, so that they can continue being educated. We still do talks online and lectures for the Muslim community, so that they still have those reminders and those words of encouragement in a very difficult time.
Yes, no, alhamdulillah, it just shows that in these difficult times we have to be innovative as well. And as Salim said, you've got online courses going on. Salim, can I ask you another question? Are you an NHS worker by any chance?
No, I'm not.
No, okay. No, because we need to applaud all the NHS workers as well,
along with all the
other local communities who have done a lot of work. I've got another question which is really coming from a financial angle. Are you finding that, you have got more commitments now, you've got more services which you have to deliver, but because the mosques are closed, your donation has probably gone down. Are people cooperating in another way, or should they not be donating a bit more now?
Yeah, so this is the question that people are asking. Why should we donate to masjids when the masjids are closed? Surely they don't need the money. But what I would say in response to that is, if you see your masjids doing this community outreach work, if you see them stepping up and really making an effort to serve the community, that's more of an obligation upon you to try and support those masjids. At Green Lane Mosque, we've already been running many services throughout the years, and now at a very difficult time, we are trying our best. We are reaching out to our congregation and to our supporters to try and donate more, especially in a time where perhaps people aren't spending as much as they would normally. They're not going out to eat at restaurants or going out and spending their money on petrol, driving around. So it's a time now where we're all worrying about what's going to happen to our loved ones, but we also seek the pleasure of Allah. So we are asking people to donate more than they were donating before. We're asking people to set up direct debits so that we can continue running the masjid and all of these services, because at the end of the day, these services mean we're feeding people, we're feeding hungry people, we're supporting the vulnerable, we're supporting the heroes in the NHS, and also for those who pass away, we're also supporting them to give them the burials that they need. I heard of a scenario, an example of one man, 57 years old. He passed away, and there's no family around, to bury him. Now, it becomes the responsibility of the Muslims, the masjids, to take on that responsibility and provide those services. At Green Lane Mosque, with the funeral service that we offer, we are dealing with deceased COVID people who passed away because of the COVID virus. And that's a very risky thing to do. The people who are working on the funeral service side of things, they're risking getting infected, they're risking contracting the virus just through the work that they're doing. But because it's our responsibility as a masjid, we have to offer this service.
No, can I ask Brother Salim, I know this is a time, very important time as far as the mosque is concerned, and just like yourself, there are other mosques which are providing these services, and really the Muslim community now needs to sort of step up and support the mosque. And not only that, because what people like Brother Salim and local mosques are doing, they are actually supporting the local communities. Now there is time that we need to do more here as well. As a charity, of course, it's our obligation, but we need to help our local communities, our local mosques as much. They need you now more than perhaps ever before.
Brother Salim, mashallah, the work you are doing and for the local community is a real inspiration, and I'm sure many of our viewers here, we can learn from this, and inshallah possibly even get involved in our own local communities and by taking inspiration from the work you've done. I would like to thank you and your entire team for the work you've done for your community, and may Allah reward you all abundantly for the work and accept it from you and us as well. Jazakallah khair for your time today. Inshallah, we will see you soon.
Inshallah.
It's been a real eye-opener, and today, alhamdulillah, I think we've had a great a great number of panelists today. We've had Imam Qasim, mashallah, he was speaking to us about the charity sector. We've had Sheikh Ul-Ras, who's speaking about the situation in Makkah, and it's you can't even imagine like the haram being closed for especially for those who have been Umrah or Hajj. But just before we wrap up, inshallah, in a couple of seconds, any last advice for our viewers at home?
Well, yes. I mean, the thing is, we all need to work on this together. As far as the government is concerned, there is help for people who are in small businesses. There's help for people who are self-employed. There are people who have been furloughed, employees. There's help there as well. And there are other deals available from the government as well. We haven't had time to discuss all of them. But later on, I think, again, I'll be back here on Sunday.
Jazakallah khair.
And, we will have another opportunity.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair. To all the viewers, we are very sorry we couldn't take all your calls today. Please do try call back on Sunday at 8:30. Remember, we're live every Sunday, Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30 p.m. We'll see you then, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.